Welcome to episode 44 of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Tirapelli, bariatric sports dietitian. Today, I'm so excited to have on someone I just met recently at the bariatric retreat, but I've been following for a while online, and I just knew I had to have him on my podcast to share his journey. Dee Howell, also known as Get Fit with Dee on Instagram. Dee is 36 years old and lives in Dallas with his husband of 5 years. He has worked in big box retail management for 18 years. After struggling with weight his entire life, he finally took his life and health into his own hands and flew to Tijuana, Mexico to have the gastric sleeve surgery. Desperate to make a permanent change, Dee has dedicated his life to movement and being active. Down 172 pounds from his heaviest weight and 125 pounds since surgery, he's been able to channel his food addiction into a fitness lifestyle. Dee now dedicates his time trying to motivate others to stay active consistently. He also shares the knowledge that he's gained since becoming fit to help people who are struggling like he did. His goals are no longer just a number on a scale, but now are how far he can push his body. Dee wants to become an athlete and a champion for the misunderstood population who struggle with health. He's committed to proving to himself that he can do it and he can make this new life a permanent one. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm so glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know. I feel like when I met you at retreat, I was like, how did I not know Dee longer? Because I need this guy in my life because you're amazing.
Felt the same way about you. I know Rob has been working with you a while, so I was introduced to you a while back. But I'm like, as I'm getting into this community, there's so many people. So it's like, I've always in the back of my mind, I was like, I need to follow up and look into Kim more. But so far, everything that I've seen, I really love what you do. And you kind of break the stigma that we have to eat these little portions, and you lean more to we need to fuel our body for performance. So you were a winner in my book as soon as I saw that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, cool. Well, I want to talk all about your journey today. I'm so excited to learn more about it, but tell us a little bit more about that background into why did you initially decide to have bariatric surgery and how it's changed your life?
I struggled with weight and weight loss pretty much my entire life. As soon as I was aware of that my body was different than everyone else's, started that whole process of me wanting to lose weight. And so throughout my life, I've been on every single diet that you can possibly imagine, every Tybo, Richard Simmons, Weight Watchers, you name it. I've done them all. I've had some success, but then I gained it all back. And then I started hearing about gastric procedure, weight loss surgeries. And in the back of my mind, I think my ego got in the way, so I wouldn't allow myself to go through with it. But it was always in the back of my mind that, it's a possibility. But I kept telling myself, you can beat this on your own. You accomplish everything else that you set your mind to. So this should be nothing different. So 2021, I went on what I call my last diet. And I felt like I was in the perfect place, perfect mindset. I was at the perfect time in my life where if it was ever going to work, that was the time. At that exact same time I went on my last diet, one of my corporate bosses had disappeared for 2 weeks and nobody knew where she was. And then she popped back up. So I pulled her to the side because we were friends. And I said, girl, where have you been? And she said, I just got back from Tijuana. I flew and got the gastric sleeve. And I was like, because at that time I just thought it was gastric bypass or the lap band. I didn't know anything about the sleeve. And so I said, I looked into it while I was on my diet. And I was just like, if I can't make this diet work at the perfect time in my life, then I will never, ever be successful on my own. And I may need to look into help. And so I made the commitment that if I did not sustain this final weight loss, that I would go ahead and get the help that I needed. So fast forward, I want to say I maintained this diet, that final one, for about 6 months. And after 6 months, I regained 50 pounds of the 60 that I lost. And then coming home, I was watching a video about a guy that had the gastric sleeve, and he had a similar up and down habit that I had, where we go really hard and then back off of our diet. And he backed off for about 7 months. And I was waiting to hear him say he gained 50 to 100 pounds. And he said that he only gained 5. And in my mind, something just clicked. And I said, this is what I need. This is the tool that I need to hold me over during those lulls, just in case I lose motivation or fall off the wagon. And so at that night, I drove home and signed up for surgery.
Wow. Unbelievable. And I know you and I had talked about this before we recorded today, but you had played football prior, or when you were younger, right? Prior to having surgery.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that played a role in, your previous attempts at weight loss and how football kind of played a role in that.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I kind of have this all or nothing mentality. My mind, I have no gray area. I'm either black or white. There's no middle ground with me. And when I was a kid, one day I woke up and I said, you know what? I'm going to play football. And that day I went to my mom, signed up for football. She went and bought me the stuff and took me to practice, like all in the same day. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. My football coach, Mr. Watson, was an ex-NFL player. So he trained us like the big boys, even though, we weren't the greatest of teams. But we would go to 2 or 3 a day practices during the summer. So we get up, do an early morning practice, then we would come back for a lunch practice. And if he felt we needed more, we would do an evening practice. And during that summer, I pushed my body 10 times beyond what I thought it could be pushed. And I learned in that process that what I thought was 100% before was barely even 20 or 30%. And he truly taught us what 100% effort felt like. It wasn't easy. It was painful, but I survived. And I took that lesson of how far we can push ourselves and applied that to everything in my life. And so when I decided that, I wouldn't rely on the surgery as my end all be all, it's just a tool. I reached back and took that principle from football. It's like, okay, I'm going to put that effort that we put into our 2 or 3 day practices into the physical effort, along with the new eating habits that this tool would give me. And I would throw everything I had at this attempt, my final attempt at weight loss, now that I had this tool. And thank God I did, because I didn't expect it to work this well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love to hear that, because sometimes I've heard that from other folks that, hey, I played sports in the past or I trained for whatever their movement goals had been previously. And they've used a lot of the principles like you mentioned and just that understanding of like, what does it actually mean to really push past, maybe where I feel like I should stop, but I know I can give a little bit more and get more out of the workout or get more out of myself. And I think it sounds like it's been helpful for you as you've, kind of channeled that into your new fitness and training goals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in the beginning, like right after surgery, you've been on a liquid diet for, at this point, 30 days, because I had to do 2 weeks pre-op. And then the 2 weeks while you're healing, you're still on some sort of a liquid diet. So 30 days liquid diet, that pretty much zaps your energy. And then we were released to work out. I was released at 6 weeks. And I had that date marked on my calendar because, again, I didn't want to rely on the surgery to do everything for me, because I had failed so many times and I had it in my mind that I would not fail this time. And so on that 6th week, the day of, I went to the gym and I just told myself, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I had some experience in sports, but as far as a structured workout routine, I did not have it. But I did say what I can do is I can commit, I can put on tunnel vision, and I can execute a plan. And so I told myself, I'm going to go every day, 7 days a week for 2 hours a day and just move my body, and until it's a habit. So I made sure at first the goal was 21 days straight. So I went 21 days straight, 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I said, okay, most people, especially in the weight loss arena, we start off, gung ho, we go 150%, and then you kind of die off. So I said, all right, I know going 7 days a week isn't sustainable, but eventually I'll dial off. But that dialing back will take me to 4 or 5 days, which is normal. So I was like, okay, let me just do that. But for me, it just never stopped. So I just kept going. And I was like, man, 2 weeks turned into 3, turned into 30, then it turned into 90. And then 4 or 5 months later, I'm like, hey, I'm still working out every single day. And I kind of got addicted to it. But the biggest thing was, during that time, I didn't feel good. I was exhausted. I don't want it to sound glamorous. It was ugly. Yeah. There are times I would go to the gym and I would go to step out of my car and I would fall asleep getting out of the car. Like one day I woke up one leg out of my car because I was so exhausted, because you can't eat to fuel that much. And so looking back, I would never recommend anybody do that. But at the time, it was what I knew, and I kind of had to whip myself into shape. Um, but it's just kind of what I did. It worked.
Yeah.
I could have gotten the same place a little bit healthier, a little more structured, but you don't know what you don't know. But now I take all of my energy to look back and say, hey, what could I have done differently? How could I have maybe optimized my time, but still got the same structure? But football definitely has made way bigger of an impact in my life than ever. So like with kids, I'm like, put them in sports. That those lifelong lessons will stick with them, like teamwork, camaraderie, holding yourself accountable, doing stuff that you absolutely not only don't feel like doing, but don't want to. Like I did not want to go to the gym all those days, but I told myself I had to, and it just became a habit.
Yeah. No, I love to hear that too. Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important too, is just, learning that consistency and, you're, when you're part of a team, of course, you're working with others and that translates into life. And certainly it sounds like it's been a helpful part of your journey and just understanding like, hey, I need to give myself structure. I have to be committed to something. Now, yeah, like you said, maybe 7 days a week is not necessary, and it's probably not, but getting that momentum going and just getting that kind of pattern established is helpful. And then you can adjust it from there. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which is like, what are your current, fitness and training goals? Are you working towards anything specifically?
Yeah. So right now, I'm working towards, I want to be a hybrid athlete. Like I knew I've always wanted to do it. Now it's kind of like the key term, but I've always wanted to do it. I just didn't know the name of it. So I liken it to, there's a guy that I'm obsessed with online. His name is Nick Bear. And he is in Austin. He is a runner. He owns a nutrition company, Bear Performance Nutrition. And he's a weightlifter. So the guy has the body of a bodybuilder. He actually did a bodybuilding show and won. But he also runs sub 3-hour marathons. And I think he's going for a sub 2-hour, 30-minute marathon. Like he's insane. He's done Leadville 100. He's done a 24-hour race. The guy just keeps going. And so right now my goals are to be able to just be in optimal physical shape. I have an aesthetic that I'm going for, which is kind of like Nick Bear, really muscular, but not without being too big. Because, in the bodybuilding world, being big is great. But for me, being an overweight guy, I don't want to get too big because it is kind of triggering. So have a muscular, medium-sized frame, but also have the performance. And so I want to be able to, if I wake up one day and say, I want to go run a marathon, I want to do that. I want to compete in high rocks. That's one of my favorite sports that I've been obsessed with the last year. I just need to pull the trigger and join the competition. So high rocks is my favorite thing. And most people don't know what it is, but it's kind of a endurance event. So there's a bunch of running, but there's also strength exercises. So you have 8 stations and 8 runs that you do in a row. And most people, it takes 1.5 hours to 2 hours. The best in the world, they complete it in about an hour. But it is physically demanding. It's almost like a mini Ironman, just with no water. And so, goal wise is just to kind of accomplish all that. And I also want to compete in bodybuilding shows. So I'm all over the place. I'm one of those people,
okay.
I want it all and I want it now. So
yeah,
so just trying to learn
it's good.
Yeah, and I love it because I meet all kinds of different people. Like the true bodybuilding guys, they are one set of people, and I love them for what they do. And then the athletic performance people, they're a different set of crazy, but all of them speak to a different side of me that just keeps me going. So I'm never able to just sit and relax because I'm always kind of chasing something, which I like because it keeps me going and it keeps my mind off of just losing weight and the body dysmorphia, and it puts my focus more on what can my body do. And then at the end of the night, I can deal with those feelings. But during the day, I'm focused on how fast can I run? What goal did I achieve? How many classes did I go to? How much can I lift? And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck in that cycle right now.
Yeah. No, I love
Hopefully
that.
that
And
answered
I
your
think that's what's
question.
important. Yeah, no, totally. No, I think what I find interesting about that is that yeah, everybody has to kind of find, first of all, what's their starting point, whether right out of surgery it might be walking, it might be, doing some light cycling, swimming, it might be going to classes, starting yoga. And then from there though, the journey can take you in so many different places, and the beauty of it is this is a new fresh start to get to do different things. And as we go through that rapid weight loss phase and we get to, whatever that maintenance weight might be, and the nutrition increases over time, you can try so many cool new things that maybe you weren't able to do before. And I think that's so
Absolutely.
motivating, to hear. That's what I love about having guests on, because you guys, everyone has had a different journey, has different, training goals or nutrition goals. And I think that that's what's so cool, because the sky's the limit and there's so many different things you can do.
Yeah. And one thing that you just kind of reminded me of, sorry, Kim, is growing up a big guy, like every time my mind would tell my body to do something, my body would say no. If I thought, oh, I want to do a pull up, it's a no. If I want to go run a mile, it's not happening. If I want to run fast, a couple seconds and then I'm winded or I can't. And the biggest thing that every day when I'm performing something, the mind body connection that I now have is insane. Like I tell my legs to move and they do. And I tell my body to sit up. And before I can finish the thought of sitting up, I've already set up with ease. It's almost like I walked around my entire life with chains on and I'm free now. And that is a feeling that I don't think people who've never dealt with weight can truly understand. And because even now being on the fit side of life, there's sometimes I forget and I have to remind myself like, wow, I can't believe life feels like this. And I can't believe I walked around not understanding that this is how my body should have worked the entire time. So I had no clue what I was missing out. I thought I was just missing out on the scale and a size medium shirt. But no, this is so much better.
Oh, I love that. I love to hear that. Well, tell us a little bit about, so with all these kind of goals that you have, what does a typical training week look like for you? Tell us a little bit about, how many days you're lifting or you're running. Tell us a little bit about your personal workout schedule.
Okay, so Monday through Friday is usually my double stack. And so I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and the first thing I want to do is get my Orange Theory high intensity cardio out of the way. And so I'll either go to the 5 a.m. class or I'll go to the 7:30 class with my best friend who got me involved in Orange Theory. And so I'll get that
Okay.
done in the morning and then I go straight from there to work. And so I work in retail. So I'm on my feet all day long. I'm walking and I chose the position I did on purpose so that I'm always mobile on my feet and get my steps in. And then from work, I go straight to my trainer's gym. He owns a gym, which is about an hour away from my job. So I go back across town and then I lift with him for an hour or two every single night. So typically 5 days a week,
That's awesome.
it's 3 hours worth of working out. So 1 hour high intensity cardio and then 2 hours lifting at night. And I do a body split. So we do chest, back, arms, back again. And then we just double up as my body changes. If he'll say like, oh, your arms are outgrowing your shoulders. So then we'll double up on shoulders. And so we just adjust it. Literally every 3 months, I look in the mirror and my body has changed. And so I kind of go with the flow that way. And then on the weekends, if I'm off or any off day, because I work retail, so my off days fluctuate. On my days off, those are my movement days. So it's like, how many movement workouts can I fit in one day? And so I'll usually go for a lift on my own where I'm not pushing too heavy. I'm just kind of moving my body, because if I stand still, I feel like a gargoyle, like my body gets so tight. And then I'll say, okay, what kind of endurance run can I do? So it's either an hour or two on the treadmill, something light and heavy where I'm stacking movement, but I'm not blowing out my nervous system, because I can get pretty fried. I only take rest days when my body requires it. So the last rest day I had was last Monday. The way I'm feeling, I'll probably go another week before I have a true rest day. I know that, again, that's one of those things where I don't recommend it for anybody. It's just where I'm at right now. I crave movement so much. I'm almost addicted to it, that I'm more afraid of taking off and that becoming a habit than I am what I'm doing to my body by not really resting. So right now it's pretty much 7 days a week. I just changed the intensity. So 5 days all out, 3 hours hard labor. The other 2 days are more, I guess, active recovery is what I call them. So I still move, but it's just not as much.
Sure.
And so,
tell us, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so that's a lot of movement, certainly. How have you like upregulated your intake to be able to fuel for all that movement?
So at first, I started tracking everything, but I realized that when I track, I control too much. Like I down-regulate my food because I get caught up in the carbs and the sugar and stuff. So now, honestly, I use intuitive eating. I'm careful because I weigh myself every single day. So if the scale starts to get up, if I gain more than like 5 pounds, I'm like, okay, we're starting to put on some fat. That's not just the water fluctuation. So right now I've been able to maintain just intuitive eating. So I hate bananas, but there are some days, especially after like a leg day or a heavy running day, all I want to eat is a banana. So it's like this messaging system that my body didn't have before will tell me eat some bananas. Or it'll say, hey, I'll see something heavy carb, like a quick carb, even snack food, and I'll eat it and I'll devour it. And so I learned to listen to my body and not categorize foods as good or bad. It's just, what am I hungry for? I can almost feel the macros that I crave, and I just listen to my body, even against what I think I know. But I also just say, okay, even if I'm craving a bag of M&Ms, I'm not going to eat 3. I may eat a half of one, or if I want, but that's usually like right before a high intensity run. Or if I want some rice and some lean protein, then I'll do that. With my restriction, it is harder to eat all in one sitting, especially the healthier food. So I have to allow myself to graze to keep up with all of the movement, because I mean, I don't even think my calorie app is tracking right, but I'm clear, just my active calories, I'm burning 2,000 plus calories a day. So I can't eat that much healthy. So I kind of have to do, I'll call it dirty maintenance. So I have to eat a lot to keep up with this stuff, because if I actually like follow the healthiest guidelines, then I start to shrink and I kind of look sick. So it is a balance. I want to improve it just for the next bodybuilding season, before I prep for my next show, because the food is so regulated and everything is so intense. So I'll have to go back on a structured diet for that and probably eat 6 times a day. But for right now, I'm just intuitive eating to keep up with it. And it's working. Like I usually stick within the same 5 pounds, no matter what I do. Funny thing is, when I do like heavy leg days, like I did Friday and then that 10-mile run, I gain weight, but I don't panic because I don't know the science behind it, but I sit heavy when I do a really intense leg day and then a run. And so, yeah, I listen to my body.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and that's not unusual to see after an intense workout, just because oftentimes then your body will respond by pulling water into the muscle to help heal those microfiber tears from a heavy lift or from an endurance run. There's breakdown there. And so what I like to hear, though, and I think it's great for folks to hear, is that everyone has a different way to go about meeting their needs. And an intuitive eating style is you're listening to your body's fullness, hunger cues, you're feeding it what you feel is necessary, and you're having success with it. And I think that can be a helpful strategy for some folks as well. There's you kind of have that spectrum of like, counting everything to more, just going through that intuitive eating process, which is just listening to our body, and it can work. Either way can work. And I love that you are finding success with that.
Mm-hmm. And I want to be crystal clear that I flex between both. So right now I'm in that intuitive eating space, but to me, there's a time and a place for that. And you kind of have to know yourself. Like some people are great with counting everything all the time and they don't fall into the bad habits. For me, it triggers, I don't say an eating disorder, but I guess it falls into that realm where if I manage it, I micromanage it, and I obsess about every single calorie, and then I can't fuel myself. And there's a thing I've never felt until I got into fitness. It's when I completely hit a wall. When I know how to push through the wall, but there are some times where if I don't feel properly, I run out of steam. There is nothing and nowhere to pull energy from. And it's usually at the worst time in the middle of a high intensity workout. And I'm like, the lights start blinking. And so I can always diet down a little bit or cut back, but I don't want to like do these crazy exercises and then run out of fuel in the middle of it. So for me, I just choose whatever season I'm in. If I'm in a super high intense cardio with my lifting, then I kind of just have to eat the whole kitchen sink. But if I know I'm not going to be as active, if I'm traveling, then I'm tracking everything. I downregulate that. I'm back to strict, like especially with we just did JBY and we had bariatric retreat, and I somewhat wasn't in control of all the workouts that I can do. So I went to 1 meal per day. And even those meals, I wouldn't eat the whole thing because I knew that I couldn't go to the intensity that I normally did. I didn't skip my workouts, but I just couldn't go as hard. So I didn't have that. I didn't earn my food the way I normally do when I'm here. I didn't put the money in the bank to spend it there. So I downregulate my food a lot when I travel or if I can't work out or if I have a work project.
Yeah. And so what are some of your kind of go-tos? Like, what do you like to have pre-workout, or maybe recovery nutrition? What do you like to incorporate?
Yeah, so pre-workout, I'd never really actually take pre-workout unless my trainer instructs me to. If he says, "Hey, I need you to pop a pre-workout before you come." Post-workout, I love a good protein shake. I just got into them. If I put them in a blender with some ice, one of the NutriBullets, they go down easy. I can probably take about half and then I'll have to come back and eat the other half because they sit heavy on my stomach, but they really fill me up. They seem to like my muscles absorb that entire thing. I'm looking jacked when I have them. So post-workout, I love a good protein shake. Pre-workout, if I need a boost, then I'll probably drink a Diet Coke or something just to get some caffeine in me. But I usually work out, especially with my cardio. I like to do it fasted. I don't know if there's a benefit to it. It just feels good for my system. And I didn't run that 10 miles fasted. And I will tell you off camera, never again, because my body did not respond well to that. And so learn my lesson there. It's like I may look into gels and stuff for long distance run, but I will not eat before I run a long distance like that again. So pre-workout is usually pre-cardio. Let me preface this. Pre-high intensity cardio, I usually don't feel fasted. Pre-lifting, then I'll eat something carb heavy. I've found that I can lift more, I can push through, and I can sustain my lifts when I carb up before lifting, especially because 8 hours before I just did my high intensity workout before that. And so,
I mean, everyone I know, I've talked about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I was like, there was a lag, so I didn't hear. But so like, if I'm gonna just grab a quick snack, honestly, I'll just get like a half of a sandwich that goes down, some kind of bread. I usually look for fast acting stuff, so a simple carb. Or something that I know my body can process pretty quick. So just like a half sandwich or something to get in. So it won't sit on my stomach, but by the time, usually the 30 minutes it takes for me to get from my house to the gym or the hour that it takes to get me from work to my lifting session, I'll have it kind of processed into my system and be able to tap into it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was just going to say, with all the different guests that I've had and people that I've worked with over the years, everyone has to kind of find the fueling strategy that works best for them based on what they tolerate, how they feel in the workout. How does the meal make them feel? Finding maybe quick digesting carbs that are tolerable to you or that you can squeeze in the pre-workout window. Like you mentioned, maybe having some gels or goos. And I've had a lot of folks, utilize things like just applesauce or half banana or pretzels or dry cereal, just given a little blast of carbohydrate. And I would say too, for endurance training, it even becomes even more important, honestly, because that's what your muscles are drawing upon throughout, especially if it's a moderate to high intensity, run, or you're going to be out there for a long time. That's where those play an important role. But what I have found with some folks is that if they really struggle with something right before the workout, we can look at, okay, then we need to make sure that at your other meals throughout the day, you're getting in those carbohydrates to, kind of top off the muscle glycogen stores so that you have those carbs in your body so that they can draw upon them when you ask for it, when you're doing those long
Yeah.
workouts or high intense workouts. So everyone has to kind of find what works best for you. It's trial and error. And that's what I was going to kind of ask you next, which is what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over this journey with maybe your nutrition or with your movement? What have you learned?
I would say biggest lesson, I'll start with this one overall, is if I could write a letter to my old self and I could read it in real time and say, what are you struggling with? Consistency is more important than anything that we talk about. Like just showing up, having a routine, sticking to the routine, trusting the process, and just allowing it to work long term will change your life. I thought before that I was consistent and I wasn't. Now, every single day, no matter what, my life works around that schedule. So I would say biggest lesson learned was that. Um, the other one, as far as nutrition, is that every food, there is no good or bad food. It's more of what your body needs for what you're doing. And so learning not to demonize food groups or learning what your body is optimal on is a big lesson. And you kind of have to do a trial and error, give your body time to adjust to it and kind of give you the results. And so before I would do all the fad diets like keto and no protein, no sugar, no carbs. I would kind of cycle through all these things and I would do great. And then I would fall off the bandwagon. And so now when I hear people go, oh, I'm going to diet down for an event, I'm just like, I have to keep myself from rolling my eyes because I don't, I used to fall for that stuff. And now I'm so anti diet. I'm more lifestyle. Like what can you do to sustain yourself day in and day out? So another big lesson is don't fall for the fads. Make it fit your lifestyle. And that's more long-term. That's not something that you're going to do in 2 weeks. That's a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. And so just giving yourself time to learn your body and listen to it. And then the other thing is, I like to now go back and research why I crave certain things. Like I started to crave salt and everything. Like my salt intake went way up and I just couldn't understand. But then I did some research and I was like, oh, I may be, my body's needing potassium or I may be low on iron or there's other things that's going on internally because I'm exerting myself so much. And so before I would just be like, this is weird. Why do I want salt? But I've heard before that salt's bad, so I'm not going to do it. But now because I trust myself, I'm like, okay, if my body's craving salt, I'm going to eat some salt. And so mine are kind of vague. Mine aren't like super dialed in nutrition. It's just kind of go with the flow because I'm really flexible with my day. And I would say that's another lesson is being flexible. Like I'm rigid in my routine, but I'm flexible in my approach. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to changing things if they don't work in a moment's notice. I'm really flexible with my nutrition. I'm just rigid with my routine. So I just do whatever it takes to optimize my performance.
Yeah. I love to hear that. No, and those are such helpful lessons. I love to hear the there's no good or bad foods. Like all foods can fit and there's a time and a place for them. And, as we're about to enter the holiday season, maybe foods that you don't typically incorporate, you get to have because it's the holidays. And, it can fit into our new lifestyle after bariatric surgery, So I love that you say those things. I think those are helpful tips. And talk to us a little bit about your mindset too. How has your mindset changed over time with that consistency piece that you mentioned is a big lesson that you learned?
As far as mindset, I will say that I'm a lot nicer to myself. I used to be one of those people that put everyone's needs before mine, and everything and everyone and every project, work, family came before my health, and I would show up as a piece of myself just to make everyone else happy. Now I kind of show up whole from head to toe, mentally and physically. And so with my mindset, learning to say no, hey, my workouts are my priority. I preface everything with that. I'm a more clear communicator with people to say, hey, thank you for the invite, or thank you for this. I cannot attend. I need to get my workout in. You're welcome to come with me. So I've learned how to put myself first. So that was the most important lesson. Along with, again, I kind of go back to consistency, taking the time to not dwell on the fact that I wasn't successful with my weight loss long term, because I lost a ton of weight on my own, but I wasn't able to sustain it. And to be able to sit back, and instead of beating myself up like I usually do, and reflect and say, okay, what could I have done differently? But also forgive myself, because I didn't know what I know now. And I can't blame myself for not knowing what I didn't know. And so just handling myself with the gentle gloves that I handle the rest of the world with, that's a lesson that I had to learn. And I'm still learning, honestly, because in those physical moments when I don't perform the way that I think I should have, or I'm not as good, or I'm not the best, that dialogue with myself when I'm alone is not nice. It's not easy. And I would rather run 10 marathons than deal with, myself after I have a perceived failure. So I'm still working on that. But the fact that I can recognize that it's not healthy and I need to work on that relationship is just more, it speaks more to the mindset of how much I've changed, and I want to take care of myself. And I hope it doesn't sound selfish that I keep referencing taking care of me, but it is so important, because I show up better in my marriage. I show up better for my family and for my friends, because I'm pouring into myself, so that what I'm giving them, I'm giving from a full cup, instead of I'm empty and I'm trying to help everyone else. And then we talked about food. And so enjoying life. I approach everything now not from so much of a scared mentality of, oh, if I eat this, I'm going to gain weight, or if I don't eat this, I'm going to lose weight. It's more balanced. It is, I'm consistent so I can enjoy life. And if I want some ice cream, I'm going to have ice cream. If I want a cookie, I'm going to have a cookie. There are times that I absolutely crave a salad, and I want a salad because my body wants it, not because I want a salad because I think I'm going to lose 5 pounds. And so my mindset, not having to think about food all the time in an unhealthy way, it has freed my mental space to handle other tasks. I'm better at work. I'm more focused, because my brain isn't constantly filled with food and what do I do with food and the scale and stuff like that. So it was a big burden mentally that's lifted off of my shoulders. I think I kind of covered everything.
Yeah, no, I love all of that. I mean, what a like total change. I mean, it sounds like from, your experiences from prior to having the surgery. I mean, you've really completely, it sounds like overhauled your mindset around, just the relationship with food, and everyone, I would say, is as a work in progress. I think we all are, but I love that. I just love your honesty and kind of just that, hey, this isn't easy. It's every day is a new day. I'm working towards it. I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to have a better relationship with my, with food, with movement, all of those things. And then it impacts your life in so many, positive ways, like you said. Okay. So that kind of brings me to like my next question, which is, and we talked a little bit about this offline, but how has this weight loss journey, how have you navigated it within your marriage? Now that you're doing more fitness and that you've, gone through this significant, weight loss, how have you navigated that with your marriage?
It has taken a lot of communication for the both of us. The first thing I did was 2 months into the journey, I went to him when I realized, okay, this is a real deal tool. It's going to work. My body's changing quicker than I can keep up with. The habits are sticking. Like, we're doing this. I went to him and I said, I need you to be honest with me. You met me as a bigger person. I know that's what you're attracted to, but my body is about to change, and change fast. It already has. If you are no longer attracted to that, I need to know now. And so we can figure it out. So, be honest with me, or if it changes down the road, like, I need you to tell me how you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you like, what you don't like, and what you need, especially from me. And, he reassured me that he sees me for who I am on the inside, and that the physical thing, was the initiator, but it's not why he loves me. He loves me for who I am. And so that felt good. And then throughout the journey, we would have check-ins. I would say the first year, we would have monthly check-ins. They were never scheduled. It was just random. We'd be laying in bed and I'd be like, how are you feeling this month? And honestly, just because I lost all of my weight in the first 5 months, 5.5 months, I passed my goal weight actually. And so it went pretty fast. So I couldn't even keep up with what I was seeing in the mirror. So I can't imagine what he was going through. And so seeing it through that lens, not only, oh, it's all about me and my weight loss, but his experience laying next to me, holding someone who used to be, soft as a pillow, and now I'm a bag of bones. Having him go through all those stages with me and then checking in with him and validating how he's feeling really made him not an outsider, but really be a part of the process with me. And that helped to strengthen our marriage as far as communication. The fact that I was willing to kind of put my feelings aside and say, hey, be honest with your needs, just your needs. No matter how I feel, I just want the brutal, honest truth. And he has been the whole time. And he's been my biggest supporter. He's been my cheerleader. He's been there every step of the way. He allows me to kind of go do my thing. It takes a lot to put up with my routine, and with me as a husband, because I'm so gung ho when I latch onto something. It is what I live and breathe and eat and sleep. And so when I latched on to the weight loss and the fitness lifestyle, I grabbed onto it with both hands. So that's me waking him up at 4 a.m. so I can go work out, and then being gone all day because I go from the gym to work back to the gym, not coming home until 9 p.m., sometimes 9:30. That means I'm gone from sundown to sundown. And so, him having me gone all day and still being secure that I'm not out there doing something I'm not supposed to, and that I'm coming home to him, that was a big thing. And then also him dealing with the way the world treats me. I'll tell you, like, it is a stark difference between navigating the world as a bigger person and how people treat you versus being a fit person. It's like people are nicer to me as long as me being nicer to myself. And so him dealing with the attention that I now get that I don't even know how to deal with. I don't recognize it. Someone could, say something or be hitting on me, and I'm so oblivious because I'm used to being invisible as a big person. And so just we've gone through every stage of it together. And then the other part of it is people expecting me to fix his weight issue. And I don't want to be one of those people who, now that I'm fit, I want to go preach it to everyone else who didn't ask for it. If you ask me for my advice or ask me for my help, I'll give it to you without a problem. But I don't want to impose my lifestyle, my new lifestyle, or my fitness on anyone else that doesn't ask for it. So if he asks me for help, or he wants help with the diet, or he needs me to motivate him to go to the gym, then I'll do it. There are times where I've done my 2 workouts and he's on the fence about going to the gym. I'll go back for a third time just to support him. I won't talk about it. I'll just say, hey, let's go. We'll do whatever you want to do. And I'll go to the gym and suffer it out for him, just to show that I'm here for you. I'm not judging you. I don't see him as any different than I saw him when I was the bigger person. So I almost protect him from other people's opinions now that he's the one that gets the comments. And even his own mom will be like, well, why don't you make him do this? And I try to tell her, I'm like, just because you see his size, you don't know what he's doing in the background. You don't know, how he's living, or what his routine is, or what his struggles are. I do. I'm with him every single day. And so let us work, let it work, the program, but your comments aren't going to help. So I've talked to him about, what do you want to do if you want to do anything? So we've mentioned maybe trying the GLP-1s, or him getting the surgery. I will say him watching me go through that liquid diet has turned him off to any kind of bariatric surgery. So he said he absolutely cannot do that. And I'm like, you can do more than you think. Yeah. Or just diet and exercise. I tell him I still have those conversations that I have with myself about what I would do if I could turn back time, not have the surgery, but still wanted the same success. And so that information is readily available to him if he wants to use it and apply it. So I don't push it. I strongly advise it when he asks, or if I see that he's having medical issues that I'm like, hey, your weight
Yeah.
could be contributing to that. Then I'll step in. But for the most part, it's keeping him secure that I don't think I'm better than him now that I'm fit. And also keeping the world in that same mindset that he's my partner. He was here with me through thick and literally through thin now. And I'm not going to discard him just because I physically changed, or physically and emotionally, but he's my rock. He's been my supporter, and that won't change. So we're solid.
Oh, I love to hear that. Yeah, no, and I think what's so important here, and we don't talk about it too much so far in the podcast episodes that I have, but when we were talking about offline, I was like, this is such a great topic because it does impact relationships and marriages, and in your case, it sounds like you've really utilized communication and checking in with each other and honesty and just like, hey, how are you feeling as I'm progressing through this? How's it going for you? And it hasn't just been that one sided kind of I'm just doing all me, and you just have to kind of be there alongside. It sounds like you guys have a really good team together, and you have great support.
Oh yeah. And I'll be honest, like not all communication is pretty. Like again,
Yeah,
when
sure.
you get to the end goal and you get to these conversations, when you gloss over it, it sounds beautiful. But I mean, we have like he'll say some things that I may not have shared with him. Like I don't talk to him about how much the loose skin bothers me. Like it really does, because the level of fitness that I've attained through this horrible, like, well, not horrible, this intense workout routine that I've set up, like my body has become, when I feel it, really solid. But when
Sure.
I look in the mirror and I don't look what I feel, and I'm not, I'm like, oh, if this skin was gone, people will be able to see my true form and my all of my cuts and my muscles. It really messes with my brain, but I don't want to
Sure.
complain about something that I asked for. So I really don't talk to him about that. And one day I walked past him and he called me his California raisin, and I laughed. And I think it's funny, but it's also horrible. And I'm like, I laughed, but it also made me spiral on the inside. And so dealing with that, so stuff like that, where
Yeah.
he may say something as a joke, but I mean, it hits me in the gut. But understanding that it's not coming from a place of malice, but it
Right.
also hit my insecurity like bullseye.
Yeah.
So just giving grace in those moments where I could have turned it into this, how could you? And you destroyed my confidence. I saw it for what it is. It is a funny joke. And to me, all jokes come from some place of truth. And yeah, I probably do from some angles look like a California raisin. But every day I'm trying to beat the skin until I can get surgery. So I'm lifting and trying to put on as much muscle as I can and trying to outwork the skin. I'm doing the best I
Yeah.
can. And so I can lay my head at night knowing that, hey, if I do any more, I'm probably going to like crumble to the ground. So I'm doing all that I can. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Well, let's kind of finish up with then, what would be some advice that you might give to someone who's listening or who's wanting to get back on track with movement or get started? Do you have any advice for someone listening?
um, one, I would say, because advice changes based on where people at. So I would say, don't look at one person's story or journey and try to apply yours to theirs. Think about your unique situation. I will say that if you have struggled with weight your entire life, this isn't like a sudden couple year weight gain. Like your entire life, you've had issues and you've been on diets, and you crash diet and then gain the weight back and stuff like that. Then I would say look for some kind of intervention. At that point, like you'll spin your wheels trying to blame it on your lack of willpower. There may be something going on where you're doing it improperly. You could be maybe crashing your metabolism, and then you're doing more harm than good, going all out, and then only to gain it back. And so I would say if you're one of those people, probably look at some kind of intervention to help as a tool, but don't allow it to be your end all be all. Like my number one rule of this whole thing is this surgery is just 10% it's a tool, but the rest of the 90% is all up to me. And I have to live as if I don't have this tool, because at any moment something could go wrong. I could get injured. I could lose movement. Like there's so many things that could happen that can derail this process. So you have to stay ready at all points. And then don't waste emotion blaming yourself for your weight. You would think, especially someone like me who has been a lifetime big person, I thought my happiness was a number on the scale. All I cared about was just being under 200 pounds or hitting a certain pant size. And I realized when I met all those goals, the thrill was momentary. I mean, it was over like that. But the lasting happiness that I found in this journey was keeping promises to myself, making friends and building healthy habits with those friends, keeping my appointments, building a routine, stuff like that's tangible. The fact that I can run 3 miles in a blink of an eye just because I want to. All those long lasting goals mean a lot more than just a number on the scale. So you don't have to wait to be a certain size to be happy. Be happy now. Be happy now because you're alive, and know that after that, anything you can change it. Anything you can make better and make it what you want it to be. And then I would also say, for people who have not struggled with weight, be kinder to people who are, because you don't know what they've been through. And I have to remind myself that I had to wait until my mindset was right, until the stars kind of aligned for me for this process to work. Some people may not be there yet, but one thing that won't get them there is negative comments and shunning them or anything like that. So please, if you are not in people who are struggling shoes, like, come from a place of compassion, or just don't come at all. Come to help, not to shame. Because a lot of the things that people say and the way they treat people, you could scare that person away from trying to make that healthy change. And the gym is a very intimidating place. Like, until I got fit, I mean, I would, as soon as I thought somebody was looking at me, I would run out the door. Now I can go to a place like Alpha Elite where you can't even get on a piece of equipment, and there's hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people working out, and I feel at home, and I'm like, move, it's my set. Like, I'm going to slide right in here and I can work out. So it's just, mindset is a big thing, and you just don't know what people are going through. So please just be nice to each other. That's all I got.
No, I love that. No, I love that. No, that's such important advice, and I appreciate that, because I think that compassion piece is really lacking this day and age. And everyone's quick to judge, but you don't really know what's happening, behind closed doors. And so, just like you said, either don't come at them at all or be helpful and positive. Otherwise, just keep going. So I appreciate that so much. And yeah. And can you tell everybody, where can people follow you or reach you for questions?
Yeah, so I am get_fit_with_D. Forgive me for all the underscores. When I set up my social handles, I didn't know what I was doing. And so yes, Get Fit with D on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I answer them all. So just message me there, slide into the DMs. I'll reply. Or I try to post every day, either my stories. And so if you comment on them, I'll see them. And I make it a mission to go down every single comment and reply or like and engage with people. And so you can reach me on any of those. And I'm nice as can be. I hardly ever smile in my pictures because I hate my smile. But don't think that I'm like standoffish or anything. I'm really sweet. I don't have a mean bone in my body. So approach me.
Agree. I totally agree with that. And absolutely give Dee a follow, because he is one of the sweetest, kindest people that I have met. And I can honestly say that when I met you at retreat finally in person, I was like, yep, exactly what I thought. He's amazing and just so kind and thoughtful. Honestly. So it's an honor to be able to talk to you today. I'm so glad we're getting to know each other better, and I hope we keep going that way, because you're awesome. And just thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's so helpful, and just your honesty and authenticity. I just sincerely appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And can I make one more point? I know we got to go.
Sure. Please.
In all of my replies and stuff that I've said today, a lot of it is kind of go with the flow, but I don't want people to minimize the importance of like nutrition and structure. Like right now, I'm kind of trying to figure it out, but that's only going to take me so far. And so I do want to stress the importance of having a team, someone like you or a dietitian or someone who can properly coach you on nutrition, on taking your body to the next level. Because right now I'm getting close to a point where I can't progress anymore on my own. And I will need to reach out to a dietitian and actually get on a structured meal plan, even for the crazy amount of calories. Like I'll have to deal with that whole disordered eating and stuff like that while still on a plan. So I don't want anyone to think that that stuff, just because it doesn't work for me now, that it doesn't work for everyone. Like
Sure.
a team and having consistency and accountability is super duper important. So that's one thing I didn't highlight during this whole interview. So.
No, I appreciate that. No, certainly. And I think having a support and, whether it's a dietitian or whether you need, a personal trainer or physical therapist to help with developing a fitness program for you. That's what's great about working with professionals. We've got science-backed information and can help just to save time and confusion and, going off in the wrong direction for a long period of time and, wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I appreciate that, Dee. Thanks for saying that. So great, you guys. So please give Dee a follow because he's amazing as always. And like he said, he'll totally respond to you. So he's got so much, just good life advice. So please do give Dee a follow. And as a reminder, you can watch the full episode of this video recording of the podcast on my YouTube channel, which is the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. And so please go subscribe, give it a like, give it a review. Love all your comments. Please keep doing that. We love that. And also, if you don't mind just sharing this podcast with maybe someone that you think would find it helpful, I'd so appreciate that. That's how we can get this out in front of more folks and help people. And then if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can. I'm on Instagram at Active Bariatric. I have a TikTok channel. I also have a private Facebook community, which is called the Active Bariatric Nutrition Community. So just search that in Facebook and request to join. And then if you'd like to learn more about my one-to-one bariatric nutrition coaching services, please go to my website, which is activebariatricnutrition.com, and schedule a free discovery call so we can learn more about each other. So again, thanks for being here today, Dee, and we will do this again next week, everyone. Have a great one. Take care.